Welcome to the eStockCar World Series on Maconi Entertainment. Tonight is the first race of the playoffs. These drivers have completed 10 weeks of racing in the regular season, and now is the time to shift the focus on advancing through the rounds to win the series championship. The season has seen 8 different winners with only one repeat winner, and there have been a number of contenders each week, and now we will see who can have that best postseason and bring home the biggest trophy. My name is Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth is Will Tiller, Adam Flieger working the controls as our producer, and the camera angles being provided by Dougie Beard. Pocono has earned the name the Tricky Triangle for a reason. It is a unique track with very high speeds, and that means corner exit is key here to put the power down for those long straightaways. 60 laps in the NASCAR trucks tonight at Pocono, and we will advance our first driver into the next round of the playoffs. Will, why don't you tell us about this tricky triangle of a racetrack and what we can expect to see tonight?
Oh, yeah, Joey, this is indeed the tricky triangle here tonight. You can expect us to lose track of which corner we're in here at this triangle of 2.5 miles. And opened in 1968. We all know what happened in those 60s, Joey. That's why they designed a racetrack like a triangle. Here, all the turns are different with 14 degrees banking in 1, 8 degrees in 2, and 6 in turns 3 and 4 on the straightaways. Last major track change was in 2003, and this track holds 76,812 spectators.
Well, and every single one of those seats is going to be packed virtually here for this eStockCar World Series. And I mentioned it a little earlier, we're going to be doing 60 laps, which is 150 miles in those NASCAR trucks. And the drivers do have damage turned on. They have one fast repair, though, so that means if they get caught out early, they can come down, get a new truck, get back out there racing, and do have a few green-white checkers at the end of this race if need be, but just using the iRacing yellows, so don't have race control watching over. And Will, right now we've actually got qualifying going on the racetrack. The cars are putting down what seems to be their second fast lap, and right now Keaton Swain provisionally on the pole position, and he is one of our playoff contenders.
Indeed, he is right now. Keaton Swain on top of the grid early on here in qualifying. A bit of a sprint here tonight, Joey. Only 60 laps. What do you expect to see here pace-wise when that green flag flies? Do you want to try to be on the top of this grid in the qualifying session? Do you think qualifying outside of maybe the top 10 is going to put you in a very uphill battle? Where do you think these drivers are thinking here?
Well, I think at a track like Pocono, you can definitely move up. Track position isn't as always as crucial as, let's say, a short track like Bristol. Lots of drafting goes on here at Pocono, and I mentioned at really high top speeds. So that means you're going to be drafting all the way down the straightaways. It gives you an opportunity to side draft, pull other competitors back, and make moves, especially going into turn 1 that's on the brakes. But I think the most crucial part of Pocono is actually turn 3, Will. And that's where you have to get the power down, got to get the truck turned so you don't get into that outside wall. And goes down to the longest straightaway of them all, which means the highest top speed, the best opportunity for that draft if you're behind another truck.
Yeah, it's the best opportunity to do that right now as we watch Matthew Jared. Matthew Jared was our last qualifier into this playoff here, tied with Blake Reynolds, but based on the amount of races ran during this regular season run, Matthew Jared got that last playoff spot. What do you expect to see at 81 tonight?
Yeah, we'll have to see what he's got. He's currently 6th place position with that qualifying run right now, and so he's looking pretty good in terms of a starting spot. And I actually think I'm trying to see if there's any other trucks on the track. Looks like Hayes Booth right now, and the number 5 truck is actually out there. He is putting down his first timed lap. Now, the competitors have 8 laps total, or I'm sorry, 8 minutes total in qualifying, but only 2 laps count now. The majority of the field has done their laps. Looks like Timothy Cook and also Hayes Booth out there on the racetrack right now. And then I also see Lance Marsh has not taken a time yet. So Will, I think we're going to see a couple more of these contenders roll in, especially this number 5 truck. You know that Hayes is one of the fastest contenders that we've had. He's actually a race winner earlier this season, and always got to consider this number 5 at the end of a race.
Yeah, that 5 machine been very fast up there battling in every race we've seen so far, whether it's been a road course, short course, a super speedway. That 5 machine always seems to find himself in the top side of the grid, now battling for a championship here in the eStockCar World Series. We'll see what he has in store here, the tricky triangle, as he's down the slanted straight, as I like to say.
The slanted straight, I like it there. And Hayes Booth in this number 5 truck, and I mentioned he is a previous race winner, and I'm actually looking up exactly where all this happened here. And, you know, I think I actually fibbed. I don't see Hayes on the winner sheet, and I could have sworn that the number 5 car was one of our race winners, Will, but it looks like he's just a consistent podium finisher out there.
Yeah, and that's what I was just speaking about just a little while ago there, Joey. Maybe not the best truck, week after week as far as, wins goes or laps led goes, but very consistent inside the top 5, top 8. Finds himself now, and Joe, we know all we know about those playoffs. It just matters now to start racking up those finishes. He might find himself with that championship at the end.
Might find himself with the championship at the end, and looks like these are still the only 2 cars. Looks like Eric Whitner and Timothy Cook right now are the only 2 cars on the racetrack trying to basically just get themselves through qualifying right now and see where we end up, and double checking all of our info on this side. And looks like Eric Whitner, no, he is not a playoff contender quite yet. And he is going to be going down here into turn 1, though. I think that he actually just completed his 2nd lap, so he's going to be wrapping up qualifying. And Will, that's going to pretty much do it for the action in qualifying. And before we get to the starting grid, let's talk a little bit about the racing that you're kind of expecting to see, because we have 18 trucks that are on the grid tonight, and that means plenty of side-by-side racing, especially on this long front straightaway um, on the initial start.
Yeah, and I spoke about it just as we kicked off the broadcast here tonight. The tricky triangle and the basically the sprint we're gonna have, Joey, 60 laps. You don't have much time to really think about your truck here tonight. You really have to get going. Maybe in a 10-lap window, 15-lap windows, start thinking about it. When you start hitting 25, okay, 25 almost puts you about the halfway mark there, Joey. So really need to start doing those checks, need to start thinking about those lines very, very quickly in this race.
Absolutely, and with 35 seconds left, we're going to take a quick break here. I know we're figuring out some technical issues on our side, and be right back with the starting grid and the beginning of this race. Thank you for waiting here with us. We got the starting grid as everybody is populating here in pit lane, and on that pole position is Keaton Swain in the number 21 truck. Hayes Booth snuck one in there, or not provisional anymore, but starting second place position on the outside of the front row in that number 5 truck. Connor Berry, third position. Matthew Hoffert, fourth. Barrett Polimas, a lot of momentum with Barrett coming into these playoffs, comes here in fifth. Paul Mikologic, sixth. Matthew Jarrett, seventh. Timothy Cook, eighth. Eric Whitner, ninth. And Sean Williams, there in the 10th place position.
Picking up with another playoff driver. That's Jordan Neeson right there in the number 8 machine, rolling off 11th. Sean Winkler in that 17 will roll off 12th here tonight. Looking at that next row of drivers there rolling off in the 13th position after Sean Winkler there. As we watch the field roll off of pit road, just waiting to see who's going to roll off 13th here tonight, Joey. And looking at the board here, we see Barrett Polhemus at the top. We see 13th position of AJ Marsh, 14th position of Tyler Green at 69. Right there in the 15th position, that's Troy Neeson, the 19. Nate Ramsey in the 4 rolls off 16th. Christopher Fathke in the 17th position. Lance March in the 18th position. And here tonight, rolling off 19th, Joey, to complete our field as we're down the slanted straight. Joey, good mix of drivers here tonight. Some big name playoff drivers in this field.
Yeah, it's really good. We mentioned it is the first round of the playoffs here on the eStockCar World Series, and can't wait to see the action that is going on tonight on the racetrack. We're going to be doing the 60 laps here, like we mentioned, and Pocono is such a good track. I love this track. It's so high speed. There's so many opportunities for passing. We're going to see probably a couple different strategies actually play out on the racetrack too, depending on when these trucks actually have to come down pit lane, maybe take a fresh set of tires, see how much those tires are actually worth out there for speed on the racetrack, and ultimately stay out of trouble, because I mentioned high speed. That means that if you get into trouble, has pretty big consequences usually. And here we go. Pace truck is coming off of the racetrack. That means Keaton Swain has the field in his hands, and he is standing on that gas pedal. We've got a green flag here at the eStockCar World Series at Pocono Raceway. Keaton Swain actually with a really good jump heading down into turn 1 on the inside lane. Hayes Booth on the outside. Connor Berry, though, trying to poke his nose in, and here comes the number 5 car on the outside lane for that lead. Actually going to carry the momentum down into turn 2. Now, Will, this is pretty interesting. Seems like that outside lane is the preferred lane with being able to carry that speed, and now Connor Berry is going to test the limits around Keaton Swain on the high side, but that ultimately opens up the door for Barrett Polimas.
Yeah, lane's being felt out right now. Barrett Polimas in the 79 machine is going to try to the inside. Keaton Swain as we're down into the corner, very close already. Battle for a position, but Hayes Booth will lead us around. The first time around, the first tricky triangle. Hayes Booth still leading the way as a battle for second still rages on.
Yeah, really good, impressive first lap from Hayes Booth, able to stretch it out away from the rest of his competitors right now, and it is Keaton Swain in the second place position, Barrett Polimas third, Connor Berry with a really good run going in to turn number 1 here, and then we got Paul Mikologic also in the top 5, another one of those playoff contenders.
Yeah, Paul Mikologic very strong this regular season. Just needs to lock it down here in these playoff races, Joey. Very fast playoffs. After tonight, we head to Charlotte, and then we eliminate 4 drivers after that. So, no time to make any mistakes if you're one of those playoff drivers.
It looks like a little bit of connection issues actually for Paul Mikologic right now, as he's kind of blinking on the racetrack. We're looking on board with Barrett Polimas here. Barrett's sitting in the 3rd place position behind Keaton Swain. Keaton is that purple number 21 truck right in front of us here as we dive down into turn 1. Also have Connor Berry right on the back bumper that you're looking at, and Connor Berry probably riding the biggest momentum here going into the playoffs. He won round 10 just a week ago, and so, he's feeling that high still.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely feeling that high in that two machine. Connor Berry, very well-renowned and I would say award-winning pro-light off-road truck driver in his own right, whether it's in real life or in this simulator. Came into this series, Joey, not a speedway racer or even asphalt driver, but now has a chance at a championship coming off of last week's win.
No, Connor Berry is a very experienced driver, whether it be on the virtual racetrack or the real racetrack. And you're right, does a lot of off-road racing, pro-light stuff. I saw that I think he was in a micro sprint just the other week racing against Kyle Busch, doing some oval track racing. And always fun to keep up on Connor and all of his racing escapades. And he's not the only one in this field that's an actual racer. I recognize quite a few names that do some real racing, whether it's stock cars, whether it's oval, or whether it's off-road stuff. Always cool to bridge that gap between the virtual world and the real world of racing. And actually taking a look back up front at our second place runner, Keaton Swain. Now, Hayes Booth jumped out a couple laps, to a nice healthy gap. And slowly but surely, Keaton Swain and Barrett Polimas are reeling him back in.
Yeah, we're watching this right now. Separation of about 4 trucks at the top of the grid. Right now, bookended by Connor Berry, last week's winner in that two machine. Now here in these playoff races, these drivers know it's a whole different season down this slanted straight. If they can start racking up victories, they can start locking in themselves, start envisioning themselves with that championship trophy at the end. But right now, we're down to 3 and 4 as everything right now is single file all the way around the racetrack, Joey.
Ooh, Sean Winkler in the number 17 truck just had a huge moment. I believe this was in turn number 2 here. He was on the inside, the 75 of Eric Whitner, and just a little bit of a door slam as they both came down the racetrack, but thankfully reporting that both of them are still going right now, but 17 gonna have to climb back up the mountain. He lost a ton of momentum from that, and looking like the action back on the racetrack. Actually, the closest battle is definitely the battle for our lead right now, because Keaton Swain in the 21 is officially underneath the spoiler of Hayes Booth for our lead, and here they head down into turn 2. And this is a tricky turn, Will, because you got to go over the series of bumps, which is the tunnel.
Yeah, the tunnel here at Pocono. You got to watch out right now. Pocono, I'd have to say, Joey, it's everybody's 50-50 track. It's a track that you really like. You like running these corners here. It's different baking each way around this tricky triangle. Or you're a driver that doesn't really prefer to stop up here. As mentioned, this was a track built in the 60s, and it resembles like one here tonight, Joey. But right now, one that is loving the years of love there in the 60s is Hayes Booth. Right now, he has Keaton Swain and keeps itching at that inside.
Yeah, definitely, and keeps trying to find a little bit of clean air, but he's inching his way closer. And I'm actually looking down our entire top 10 right now. I think our entire... Ooh, look at Keaton really get close on entry here in 2. I'm going to save my point about the championship here for just another moment, because I think this battle for the lead is definitely on. And here we go. Keaton Swain trying a really wide entry. That means he's going to try to close off this corner, try to maximize his runoff. And here it is. This is the moment that he's been waiting for. Really tucked up in the draft, and now he's going to side draft the number 5 car. He's going to have the inside lane going into turn number 1, Will. Looks like Keaton is going to be able to complete that pass. As I think Will is coming back to us here now, and Hayes doesn't have anything with him. Now look at this. Now I take my words back. Hayes is actually going to do the over-under, and turn 2 is pretty fast over this series of bump. Keaton Swain leaves him plenty of room on the inside of the racetrack. Really good racing from these two. Now here in real life, usually the outside lane is king in turn 3. You can really get the drive off the corner that you need going down the long straightaway. But I'm looking at Barrett Polimas here in the number 79. Who does he choose to push?
And right now he is pushing Keaton Swain on that top side lane. They have seemed to linked up right there going down into the first corner here at the Tricky Triangle. 9 laps into round number 1 of the eStockCar World Series playoff races. But now Barrett Polimas just gets flushed out of line there, Joey. What causes a sort of thing like that to happen?
Well, Barrett had a huge draft advantage going down the front straightaway. I saw 183 miles an hour going into turn 1, and he just took it a little bit too deep there, got washed up, and thankfully not too many marbles up there yet. But you're right, kind of caught him off guard a little bit, but I'm sure that Barrett, being the driver that he is, learned from that little moment and put it down in his notepad and knows now he's got to brake a little bit earlier if you've got this huge monster run coming up onto the straightaway. And ooh, Hayes Booth really tight off of turn number 3, had to lift off of the gas to knock it into the wall, and that's actually going to give the run here to Barrett Polimas.
Yeah, Barrett Polimas now right square on the back bumper right there of Hayes Booth in that 5. Hayes Booth, though, let's get back up to the top of the grid. Swain in the 21 takes us off the corner down that slanted straight. So early on in tonight's race, Joe, we're going to ride on board with Hayes Booth in that 5 machine. This is that rear camera point of view. Barrett Polimas in that 79. You know, I spoke about it before, Joey. A driver from a different league that now had to cancel their upcoming season. Barrett Polimas was looking for a league to compete in. Found one here tonight, or not tonight, but this season. And now is the guy that's on top of that points table, and now the guy to beat when it comes to the championship.
Yeah, Barrett's always been one of our consistent runners out here, and actually he's got the best run he's ever had coming out of turn 3. He's going to push Keaton Swain out here. He's kind of boxed in because the 5 is there on the inside lane, and oh, check this out.
Whoa.
Here we go from Barrett Polimas. He says, you know what, enough following in the dirty air. I'm going to try to take this lead away from Swain in the 21 truck, and they're still side by side coming off of turn number 1. And now here's Hayes Booth. Who does he decide to push? And he's actually going to try to make it 3 wide. Up through the middle of the racetrack goes the number 5, and he's going to claim the top spot going into turn 2. What a move from the number 5 truck.
And what a full set move it was from Hayes Booth. Oh my goodness, as well, almost had contact from Connor Berry in the 2. Barrett Polimas in the 79 right there, got flushed out again. Now down to 3rd after that 3 wide battle that all but killed that run the 79 had from Barrett Polimas. He could have been battling for the lead, was killed by that 3 wide run. But now we look at some other battles that are taking place lower down the grid here, Joey. 12 laps into this race.
Here you see Barrett Polimas just choosing to push Keaton Swain right now, and I believe this is the 88 there. But anyways, yeah, this is Connor Berry now taking a look up the inside of the racetrack at Barrett Polimas, and Connor Berry's just kind of been hanging out in the 4th place position, just kind of waiting for the door to open. And I think Barrett Polimas, after being caught out a little bit, like you mentioned about that 3 wide incident going into the turn 2 tunnel turn, I think he's trying to work with Keaton Swain, get back up to Hayes Booth, because I see this 5 truck he's definitely got a handle on the thing.
Yeah, he's definitely got a handle up there at the top of the grid. And here tonight, Joey's going to cross this line, going to make it lap 13. What are we looking at for windows here tonight? We always like to talk about strategies and how that would pay off. 60 laps at Pocono. How long can these drivers run before they say hi to the pit crew?
Yeah, side by side for 2nd place right now, Barrett Polimas, Keaton Swain. And in terms of that pit window, I don't have the actual data in terms of how long they can run on a green flag stint. Now, we have seen races this season when there's a lot of yellows. Cars have been able to stretch it on no-stop strategies, but given how much full throttles here at Pocono, and we've already ran 13 laps pure under green flag conditions, I think that everybody will have to come in to at least top off the tank, and probably at that point take the option for at least 2 tires, probably 4.
Whoa, what's happening right now as Hayes Booth? Oh my goodness, what's going on up here at the top of the grid, Joey?
I think this is just a little bit of classic Pocono snake down the front straightaway, and he's trying to break the draft of Barrett Polimas. He knows how strong the draft is, and just trying to weave down the front straightaway to not give any advantage to the cars behind him. And look at this. Hayes Booth is very confident on the top side. He held it around 1, and here we go down into the tunnel turn, which is known as turn 2. Gonna once again hang it out on the top side of the racetrack, and I think Hayes Booth is just putting his foot down out here saying, hey guys, if you want to win this race, you're gonna have to get by me.
Yeah, there goes Keaton Swain to the inside. Barrett Bohemus now down in the corner. We've watched this battle inside the top 4 now rage on. First 14 laps of this race. These top 4 drivers might be the 4 drivers we see at the end of this race. Still very on right now. 15 laps in, Joey. What else is going on in this field? Any other battles we're missing out on? Because it looks single file to me.
Yeah, it really is, for the most part, single file throughout the field. I see maybe Christopher Fathke right now, and also Lance Marsh side by side going down the front straightaway. And taking a look at our points sheet here, I do see Christopher Fathke. He is a playoff contender. Lance Marsh, I don't see him in here. I see AJ Marsh in on points, who is right there, but Fathke unfortunately losing a position, going down to the 13th spot. Maybe has to count on that pit stop strategy, maybe change a few little things and get back forward in this field.
Yeah, right now at the very tail end of the grid here, that 08 machine. Oh, Fathke down here about 13th
Well, we've got our first pit stop strategy here.
He's having to pull up. Whoa, Nelly, as he's heading down pit road. Keaton Swain, that 21, had to pull the reins a little bit there, Joey.
Now, this is Keaton Swain pitting early. This is kind of a road race method of strategy. He's going to be our first car to come down pit and say, you know what? I don't have to come down pit road anymore. I'm set for the rest of the race here. So will be interesting to see how the rest of the field plays this out. And Barrett Polimas now challenging Hayes Booth. Once again, going down into turn number 2 and sliding up the racetrack. Almost door banging the number 5, but respectful racing for now between these two.
Yeah, and I think these two, they talk about it each time we interview them, because these top 2 drivers have been the top 2 drivers throughout the season. They've had plenty of podium finishes between the two of them. They've spoken about that respectable nature of racing that they have. Each time they take on one another on the track, they have the opportunity to possibly dump one another. They've mentioned it throughout these interviews, but you'll see it right now, Joey, as we're side by side once again. These drivers will stay like this airtight, knowing they can respect each other's lines throughout this racetrack.
Well, and it's just really interesting to see the racing right now, because Hayes Booth is on the top side of the racetrack. It seems like he's able to carry the momentum. He's able to pin down that lower lane from the corner exit. So whoever's down there on that lower lane, you see it's Barrett Polimas right now. He just can't get the corner exit that he needs to get the pass done. And I think that if you're going to try to steal something away from the number 5 truck, you're going to have to get some help. Maybe a drafting buddy to come up. Maybe he needs Connor Berry to come up and help him. And taking a look a little bit further back, that was Sean Williams and Paul Mikologic that are too wide down the front straightaway there. You see Paul Mikologic all the way in lane number 2, call it down there. And once again, just side by side for the lead. I sound like a broken record, Will.
Yeah, that's okay, because the record that's playing is the Imperial March as Darth Vader, a.k.a. Barrett Polimas in the 79 machine. Again, trying to run to the inside of Hayes Booth in the 5. Not enough right now. He's going to fall right back behind that back bumper around right now. And I appreciate that. Shout out to those 2 drivers just a little while ago. Sean Williams there and Paul Mikologic, my 2 favorite paint schemes each week here in the eStockCar World Series. You got the Wawa scheme, and you got the T-Swizzle paint scheme there for Sean Williams.
These two have been having a pretty good battle themselves, and here comes the 89. Second car here to do pit stop strategy early, and have to see how this plays out, Will, because I think one of the things right now that they're not considering is the draft, and with nobody else to draft off of when they come back out from this pit stop, it could be a slower time that they're doing
Oh, yeah.
out there on the racetrack, and I don't know if that's going to work out. However, fresh tires are definitely worth speed.
Oh yeah, we always know what a fresh pair of freshies can do to your race car or race truck out there. It takes you a few laps to get them warmed up. Keep that into consideration, Joey. But once they do, you start to feel that speed. But then again, if you do decide to head down pit road, it could put you in a hole to a driver that doesn't head down pit road that can build a gap, Joey. So 50-50 sometimes with that strategy.
Well, and here comes our leaders right now. Down pit road, I wonder if they were listening to us. Because lap 19 pretty much got the entire top 3 coming down in formation. And that's going to promote, I believe, the 4 of Nathan Ramsey. He stays out on the racetrack, and he will be our leader. And, oh, Barrett Polhemus went a little bit far, locked up in his box, and had to back up just that little bit. And believe this is also the 89 coming around. But look at pit road here, Will. It is a very busy place. Accelerating up through the gears, and now is when we're going to see which pit strategy paid off. And I'm actually seeing Keaton Swain, those fresh tires were worth more than staying in the draft. He is pretty far ahead of Hayes Booth right now. I'm counting 4 seconds right now ahead of the number 5 car. So the early stop for the 21, it pays off now, but will it come back to bite him once the tires are kind of evened out?
Yeah, Joey, I apologize about that. I was just checking with the production crew about the point standings coming into tonight, looking at some good runners so far and some disappointing runs here tonight. But it is interesting to see right now, 20 laps into this race, already having some leaders head down pit road, not even halfway through this race, Joey. So that begs the question, can these drivers make it the entire way here on this one stop?
I don't know. That's kind of what what I was assuming, right, Will, is because we've seen people no-stop these races before, and so I assumed that it would be a one-stop race. Now, with the entire field coming down on 20 of 60, is this, splitting the race into thirds where it's even 20-lap runs? We'll see. I know that there's 65% fuel capacity limited on how much they can actually hold inside these trucks, but if I had the data, I could for sure tell you, yeah, they got to come one more time, or no, these trucks are good, and we are watching the race on the racetrack.
Yeah, as right now we're going to have what I like to call that Yahtzee shuffle of the grid. During these green flag pit stops, we had a big portion of them head down. Now we're going to see some fanning out of the racetrack. Some of those intervals kind of spread out here. Joey, 22 laps into this race. No on-track cautions yet either. We'll have to see how that plays out here as we creep up towards the halfway mark right now. Keaton Swain still leading the way.
Yeah, leading the way in 2.5 seconds right now over Hayes Booth. However, I am watching this delta right now, and Hayes Booth is closing it in every single lap. And I would say the biggest gainer out of that pit stop cycle is probably the 89 of Sean Williams, sitting in the 4th place position. Now, he was hanging out, battling in 5th place with, I believe it was Paul Mikologic there before the pit stop. And I think something must have happened with the 77 of Paul, because he's all the way back there in the 14th place position now. And Sean Williams, with a very good strategy, is actually made ground on Connor Berry and Hayes Booth in front of him.
Yeah, Sean Williams, that 89, has now shaken off some positions right now here in this race. 89 machine now finds himself square inside the top 5. Wants to get up to the top of the grid and said, hello, it's me. Hello, I'm the problem. It's me. They're at the top of the grid right now. Sean Williams riding on board with him here on Maconi Entertainment.
Just looking at timing and scoring here, because of these green flag pit stops, Will, you're kind of, well, not kind of, I mean, you are right in saying that things are definitely spreading out right now. And I think the closest battle we might have on the racetrack is actually for the 17th place position. Matthew Jarrett trying to get around Tyler Green for 16th. And if you notice, that is actually right in front of our leader. This is coming out of turn number 1, and our leaders are in turn number 1. So Tyler Green and Matthew Jarrett. Now I'm looking at our points sheet. Tyler Green and Matthew Jarrett are both our playoff contenders. So not having the day that they necessarily want right now.
No, and you like to look at some of these first playoff races as not early elimination races, but you could almost say that, Joey, for some of the runs these guys are going to have here tonight, their playoff hopes of advancing to the next round, especially with only a 2-race window. We're all but dashed here tonight. You know, we're going to eliminate 4 drivers at the next week's race at Charlotte. So here tonight at Pocono, you really wanted a top 10, maybe a top 12. You could get it, you know, going into Charlotte. But if not, you're really fighting an uphill battle next week.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be able to have a good points finish here, and you never want to have to try to climb and dig yourself out of a hole. You're right. It's just never a good position to be in there. You want to go into Charlotte with your head held high and say, you know what? I'm going to go out here, have a good race, and advance in because I came in here in a good spot. And Hayes Booth in that number 5 truck has slowly but surely reeled in our leader, Keaton Swain. So that early pit stop strategy paid off for a little bit in that number 21 truck, but now those tires are starting to be in favor of the number 5, as you see here. Coming off of turn number 3, Hayes is already in the draft of Keaton. I'm not sure if he's going to be close enough to make a move here into turn 1 this lap, but he's officially caught him.
Yeah, he's caught him indeed right now. Now reading that tail, sponsor of Appliance Parts Company, right there on the back of Keaton Swain. Right now, that machine takes us off the corner, but there he is once again, Hayes Booth. Now I can see that Toyota logo clearly. Now he's reading that side number as he's to the inside of the 21. Down in the corner, Hayes Booth with a lot of speed here tonight, showing it once again, and he, woo, lays the 21 as he goes by our new race leader, Hayes Booth.
Was not much of a fight out of Keaton Swain, and I didn't expect that. I think he knew. He said, hey, you know what? This 5 truck has been on fire all night. He's got 5 lap fresher tires than me, and just kind of let him go right on through. Tried to do a little over-under, but I tell you what, the number 5 truck is on rails. He understands the setup that is underneath that truck, and he is turning some of the fastest laps of the race right now. And actually looking down the running order, he's one of the fastest trucks on the racetrack, and you saw him just drive by the 21. And curious to see, is the 21 going to be able to hang on to the back of Hayes Booth, or is Connor Berry now going to be able to be the next truck up to take advantage of Keaton Swain?
Yeah, right now here on lap 27, we're only just about 3 laps away from the halfway point here in the eStockCar World Series round number 1 of the playoffs here tonight. We're going to ride on board with Connor Berry, that 2 machine. Last week's winner, Joey, I think might be lighting a little bit of a fire underneath that 2. Was knocking on the door. He kicked down the door last week here, trying to get comfortable inside victory lane here. 2 machine currently 3rd.
Got a good run here behind Keaton. See if he goes to the inside here into turn 1. Oh, almost gets into the back bumper of the 21. Now slides up underneath the racetrack. I don't think that was intentional out of Connor Berry. I just think that was a little bit of misjudgment between the tire wear difference and the entry speed that you see between the tire wear of those 2 trucks.
Yeah, as right now, Connor Berry, you know, didn't want to make contact there with Keaton Swain in that 21 machine. Now Keaton Swain has to fight a little battle himself to try to keep the air of the 2 machine. As now we have another player creeping up, and it is a little bit of a mix here. This fanned out racing now is starting to get a little shutting the windows on a nice cool day right now. Enjoy it a little bit more tighter.
And I'm curious here, Will, how much is this early pit stop strategy going to negatively affect Keaton Swain? Because there has to be the point, the even out point, you know? Can Keaton hang out here in the 3rd place position? Because that would pretty much net him Zero, right? He hasn't gained, hasn't lost anything from that early pit stop. However, if Sean Williams here in this number 89 truck that we're riding on board with, if he's able to go up there and pass Keaton Swain, I mean, can Keaton Swain hang on with those older tires? I think that is kind of the unraveling of the early strategy call.
Yeah, as we're riding on board with the 89 of Sean Williams, you see how much track position he's gaining just inch by inch right now. He's already starting to reel in that draft. If we're playing the old school NASCAR Thunder games, Joey, you can start to see the lines coming off the back of that truck in front of him. Start to feel that truck just reel him in. Now it becomes clear that he can gain position from Keaton Swain down in the corner.
Gonna try to do an over-under here. Gets the good drive off of turn number 1. Now he dips down to the inside, puts his truck down there in that middle lane. Says, I'm gonna take this momentum side around this tunnel turn. Keaton Swain says, no problem. I've got 4 lap older tires than you, and I'm just trying to hang on right now. And I think the 89 continues to impress me. The top 4, top 5 are all playoff contenders, but really, Will, check this out. It's the number 2 truck. He has been the fastest truck on the racetrack, and he's hunting down Hayes Booth ever so slightly each and every lap.
Yeah, and I think right now the halfway point, you've sort of, taken account of what you have in your truck here tonight. You've gotten your pit strategy down. You've gotten your lines down. You know what the draft feels like, Joey. So I feel like at this point, you can really start pressing the envelope, pressing the issues, really letting things fly. As now we start to see Keaton Swain down pit road here on lap 31. That's going to conclude that early pit window that he thought about, and now puts him behind the 8 ball with 30 laps to go.
Well, this is really interesting because what I believe is happening right now, Will, is that I believe that Keaton is on a 3-stop strategy while the rest of the field is on a 2-stop strategy. Now, Hayes, Booth, Connor Berry, they all pitted at lap 20. If they stick to that same strategy, I would expect them to come in at lap 40 for their next stop. So another handful of laps or so before we see the rest of these players come down pit road. However, Keaton Swain, lap 32, there's no way that he can make it to the end based off of what we've seen so far. So I'm expecting Keaton Swain to put his foot down on the racetrack, try to throw down some qualifying laps, try not to get held up out there, and come in one more time. I love this. This is the oddball. This is like throwing the dice out there.
Yeah, this is like, for those familiar with playing Warzone or Fortnite, you run around the map, you get as much supplies, as much ammo as you can, and you go hide somewhere until all the other players are done, and you're the last player on the map, Joey. That's Keaton Swain's strategy here tonight. You make sure you're the last truck on the racetrack when everybody else has to pit or has to think about pitting. Everything is done for you because you ran around the map and got everything you needed.
It's a interesting way to put it there, and it's gonna have to. I'll keep an eye on timing and scoring in these lap times. And I mentioned it was the number 2 truck that was closing in on Hayes Booth, and it's actually the number 80. I'm sorry, not the 89. Yes, it is the 89. Sean Williams. He's been making the biggest inroads, Will, and I'm going to call him the dark horse here because T-Swizzle is looking to line up victory lane potentially.
Yeah, it looks like we have a truck heading down pit road. Here's some damage to that truck. Can't really see who that is, but Joey, I got to say, I wish I knew more T-Swizzle songs. I know a few, but not enough to keep rolling them off and references there. I know Shake It Off. Joey, do you know a couple more that we could get rolling here if this 89 machine keeps rolling here? We have to think of some more things to say because he might be in victory lane soon.
You know, I don't know the T-Swift songs. I think probably my favorite T-Swift song is, the YouTube parody where it's got the yelling goats, and it's paired up to her song. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the most T-Swift lyrics that I know, Will. The goats yelling on the other side of the fence.
Oh my goodness, and that was Nat. And Nathan Ramsey that we saw heading down pit road just a short while ago before we checked back in with these leaders up here. And Joey, congrats to T Swizzle for re-releasing about 6 albums there. I think she's making a comeback all with her old songs and new music there. I'm just getting lost in all the T Swizzle music, that's for sure. And I remember the day she was a country music star. Remember those days, Joey? That was a long time ago.
I mean, isn't she still, or what is she classified now? As like a pop star or something?
I guess so. She's classified as Taylor Swift. That's what her classification is.
Gotcha. Copy. Well, let's catch you guys up on the landscape of the race right now. Hayes Booth has been out front. I think that he's really been the truck of the day so far.
Oh, yeah.
He's been able to really kind of just run away from any contenders that he's had and fight off anyone at the arm wrestle table. Connor Berry is in the second place position in his number 2 truck and has had a really good consistent run right now. And then you got Sean Williams in that purple 89 hounding the back of Connor Berry. Sean is sitting in the 3rd place position and actually up 7 positions from his original starting spot. And here's Barrett Polhemus back here in the 4th place position. Now, I see a little damage on the right side of that race truck, and that means he's gotten into the wall. But the main reason why Barrett is struggling on pace actually is because he had to pick up in that pit stop. Will you remember that? He slightly slid through his stall, and that's when he lost touch with that front group.
Yeah, right now Barrett Polhemus, the 79, is probably a little disappointed, but now we check in with the 60 of Lance Marsh right behind that 79. Very fanned out on the racetrack. That Toyota here tonight having a pretty good run. Usually it's AJ Marsh having runs. Here tonight, that 60 finds himself in a pretty good spot on the racetrack. Behind that 60 machine of Lance Marsh, we look further down here at Pocono. A little bit of a battle we have going on right now, Joey, between Timothy Cook and that 29 as he hits the wall.
Timothy Cook hard into the wall there. You saw that happen, and just like that, going to have damage on the race truck. And I actually mentioned that Barrett Polhemus had some damage, and I went back and looked lap 35. So not that long ago, he slid up into turn 2, made heavy contact with the wall there, and he's suffering big time right now on pace. I'm looking 58.4. That's 1.5 seconds slower than the front 3.
Oh, man. What a disappointing start to a playoff run for our regular season champion. Barrett Polhemus came into these playoff races as I would say the clear favorite there. Joey, the driver that we probably had the most hopes in maybe not winning here tonight. I don't think he was excited about Pocono, but probably a good finish. Probably not going to get one out of that 79 here tonight. But we look at the rest of that point standings and the results on the racetrack right now. Oh, man, that 79 is trying to hold on, Joey. Things getting crazy. Look at AJ Marsh here on the racetrack. We look at Matthew Hofford right there. Tyler Green didn't have a good night right now. Sean Williams up there as well. So we look at some of these drivers who can lock themselves into the next round.
More strategy going on the racetrack. Connor Berry hits pit road with 23 laps to go, and I think the trucks that are coming down pit road right now, Christopher Fathke included, I believe, or I'm sorry, that was Jordan Nissen there in the number 8 truck. I think the car is coming down pit road right now. This is going to be their final stop, and I would not be surprised to see Barrett Polhemus come down pit road as soon as he can. Because remember, you got one faster pair, and I know that he's bleeding time with that damaged race truck. And sure enough, here he comes off of turn 3. His crew chief says, you know what? Come down pit road this time. Fill it up with gas. You can make it to the end. Let's get that faster pair taken care of.
Yeah, and you got to think so, too. As the points leader heading into this first race of the playoffs, you want to scrape as many points as this race as possible. Even if you don't win here at the Tricky Triangle, at least you go into the next race at Charlotte, a little bit of your chin held high, if you will. Right now, as we see our leader on the racetrack, that's Hayes Booth in that 5. And I got to say, Joey, I just checked with our fans watching along with us here on Maconi Entertainment on our YouTube page. Hayes has some fans out there watching him.
Well, I'm sorry that we're not giving Hayes Booth more airtime because he is just kind of running away with it right now. And looking on the racetrack, this is the 21 of Keaton Swain going by Christopher Fathke out there. And I'm sorry, that's Matthew Jarrett. Matthew Jarrett's a lap down, so that's why I miscalled that there. But Keaton Swain is on that 3-stop strategy, working lap number 8 on his tire stint. And here's the 34 of AJ Marsh coming down pit road. Lance Marsh in front of him is also coming down pit road. So that really only leaves Hayes Booth out there, our leader, still on the racetrack to do his final stop. And then it's all going to be watching the chess game between Keaton Swain and the rest of the front three with the 2-stop strategy versus the 3-stop and how it's all going to play out.
And Joey, you just mentioned the 81 of Matthew Jarrett. He was our last qualifier into these playoff races. Took the spot from Blake Reynolds at 66 machine. And with his run here tonight, do you think his chances of advancing to the next round are eliminated based off being 2 laps down?
I never say never, because a win guarantees you into the next round. So remember, you can have a junk day here, but as long as you bring home the bacon at Charlotte, that's really all that matters.
Must win.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there's plenty of drivers that will probably be in that position, but I think that's one of the cool things about the win and you're in mentality out there. And so we'll just have to see how it all plays out. Now, it's never good to go in there with a deep hole to dig. I agree, Will.
Yeah, and now Hayes Booth rolls off of pit road. You see a little bit of a recycle right now. I predicted this early on here, Joey. I knew these drivers would have another 20 laps before they had to pit. So this is going to all about do it for that pit crew. You can tell them to start packing it up and watch you end this race as fans. That's going to be it for them. As right now, Keaton Swain at 21 machines is currently our race leader. He's holding off a lap truck. Oh my goodness, that could have been disastrous for Hayes Booth in that 5 as he just went sideways off the corner.
Yeah, and Hayes had just come in this lap here, so he is getting the tires back up to temperature and had a big slide coming off of the tunnel turn that lap, just getting everything up to speed. And right now, 4th place on the racetrack for Hayes Booth, and the reason why he slipped back so far is because he stayed out the longest on those tires, and so everybody in front of him came in, got those fresh sticker tires, and has the lap time to do those fast laps. Call them qualifying laps, and now Hayes Booth has got those fresh sets of tires, so he will have that advantage, but he's got to go up there and pass all the cars on the racetrack. And there's Connor Berry coming out. Oh, we got a yellow flag on the racetrack. We got a car turned around. I believe that's Matthew Jarrett. Could be miscalling this one here. Let's see. Yeah, that was Matthew Jarrett in the 81.
Matthew Jarrett. We were just speaking about his playoff hopes here. See what happens on the corner. Oh, contact with Keaton Swain, the 21, right on the exit of the corner. I don't know there, Joey. That looks a little smoky right there.
Yeah, well, I can definitely tell you that Matthew Jarrett slid up wide in turn 2. He was out of the racing line, and then he had to lift up off of the gas because he thinks he's going to get into the wall. And ultimately, Keaton Swain is up underneath him, counting on the 81 to go all the way up towards the wall, and unfortunately makes the contact on corner exit there. 81 truck spins around, makes some contact with that outside wall. I don't see a ton of damage on this truck, though. I think Matthew Jarrett will be okay.
Yeah, the 81 of Matthew Jarrett, as mentioned, the last truck to get into these playoff races here. It was a deadlock tie with Blake Reynolds there, but based on the amount of races both drivers participated in, it was Jarrett that got that last spot. But Joey, that's officially our first break, our first yellow here tonight. It took us a long time here on Maconi Entertainment, but now we have a little bit of a breather in the action, if you will. What's been your thoughts about tonight's action?
You're right. It is our first yellow flag of the night here, and I'm curious to see how it came. Well, I mean, not curious to see how it came out, but just curious to see it came so late in the race. And I think this all played into Keaton Swain's hands. He's going to come down pit road. Yeah, everybody's got to come down pit road. Connor Berry just barely squeaking it through the tires there to come down here. And Will, I've noticed the tires are worth so much lap time out here. This really fell into Keaton Swain's hands because he had just had that pit stop cycle, and now that everybody has a few laps, they all have to come in and get the tires, and now everybody's going to get a fresh tank of fuel and be good for the end of the race.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think right now you might be set on tires. Fuel is pretty much what you need. You might put a set on just to see how it feels, see if it gives you just a little bit of advantage you might need on this restart, Joey. But I think this is just going to be a frantic finish. I don't think this is going to be the last caution flag we're going to see.
I don't think it's going to be the last caution flag we're going to see, no, but I definitely think that you got to take tires no matter what. I was seeing, trucks returning 56, 57-second laps out there on used stuff, and anytime you had anything new, you could go out there and lay down 54s and 55s depending on how you caught the draft. And should be really interesting here, and pace truck lights are still on. That means we're going to be going one more time by start finish, and then we'll see if we're going to be getting a green flag or if we're going to get one more lap under yellow. But Will, it looks like probably 14, maybe 13 or 14 laps to go when we go back to the green flag.
Yeah, I love it. We've done 60 laps, or we're going to do 60 laps here at the Tricky Triangle. It's been a very crazy race. Interchanging parts at the top of the grid here in the first round of the eStockCar World Series playoffs here on Maconi Entertainment. I am having a blast here tonight, Joey. I know I love these cannonball style races here, these fast-paced eStockCar World Series races. These drivers have no time to think throughout these races.
No time to think. And I was just going to make a comment that the top three had stayed out, but here comes the 19. Troy Nissen's going to come down pit road here, get that tank, fresh set of tires, and looks like we are getting the wave around, and just like that, the lights are out on the pace truck. So we're going to be going back racing here on lap 46, which should mean about 15 laps remaining.
Yes, sir, indeed. 15 laps to go here at Pocono. Right now, that 17 machine will take us to the drop of the green flag. Has Keaton Swain right behind him. Connor Berry on that top side lane. Joey cannot wait to go green flag racing here once again as we're down that slanted straight.
Now, in terms of strategy for everybody listening out there, Sean Winkler and Christopher Fathke did not come down pit road and take tires that time. So they are on used tires. Keaton Swain and Connor Berry, everybody behind that front row, they are all on fresh, brand new rubber. So I would expect these front two to get swallowed up pretty quickly. And I'm actually looking here. I do not see Sean Winkler in terms of a playoff driver, but Christopher Fathke is, in fact, one of our playoff contenders. So he's taking this opportunity for track position over tires.
Oh, yeah. Christopher Fathke has been a middle-of-the-path driver all season long. Did make it into these playoff races based on those results, but would love nothing less than a win here tonight. Not have to worry about Charlotte next week, but here we go, Joey, as we're going to see this pace truck pull up.
Here we go indeed. 17 is on the gas. Sean Winkler is going to lead him to the green flag. Christopher Fathke on the outside, but here comes Keaton Swain already going down, making it 3 wide into turn number 1. Connor Berry's thinking about making it 4 wide going into 1, and here goes Keaton Swain and Connor Berry coming off of 1. They're going to come into a funnel where it's going to be 3 wide. Connor Berry now to the inside of the racetrack. He wants to lead. Fathke on the outside. Swain now tucking back into the draft line.
Like Tally from South Park, I have no idea what's going on the racetrack right now. We were 4 wide, 3 wide.
Here
We had
comes Hayes
Bobbin
Booth.
moving. Hayes Booth to the inside. Sean Williams, we're 3 wide right now. Down to 3. Things are getting so tight right now, Joey. Your caution flag is out.
Yellow flag on the racetrack. I believe it's for Troy Nissen back here. Get a replay of exactly what happened to the number 19 truck. I believe it was coming through turn number 2, and looks like it. 19 got the worst end of it. Looks like it started with the 17, I believe, of Sean, or is that the 17 there? I believe that's Sean Winkler.
It is the 17 truck right there. Just got sucked out of that lead position. Got stuck in that danger zone lane right there in the middle, Joey. You're going to see here, just can't find anything to hold on to. Just getting slammed around there. Tried to drift up to the top side. Made contact. You're going to see it right here, Joey. Just gets T-boned on the inside lane.
Yeah, and I think that was the 29 of Timothy Cook. That was the blue truck all the way up in the outside there, and just collecting a few more trucks as it goes through. And I think, Will, this is all your fault because you were the one during that yellow flag that said, we're not done with the yellows yet.
No, I didn't think so, Joey. And I just felt like the pace of this race was going to pick up frantic. It was just going to be a chaotic and chaos-riddled restart there. And that's exactly what we had. Joey, those scenes we saw here on Maconi Entertainment reminisce what we saw in Too Fast and Too Furious when all the cars came out of the garage. Everybody was going every which way. That's what it felt like on that slanted straight. 3 wide, 4 wide. Crossovers being made. Cars bobbing and weaving out of there. I'm surprised we only had 1 wreck in all of that, Joey. Crazy restart here. Cannot wait to go green again.
Crazy restart. Yeah, I agree. That was 4 wide almost going into turn 1, and I thought Connor Berry for sure was going to make it 4 wide, but thought better and ultimately got the lead, or almost the lead, coming off of turn number 1. And here you see all these lead lap cars going left on the racetrack, I believe, making room for, I think, Tyler Green getting the lucky dog, the wave by, getting his lap back, and that's crucial for Tyler. He is one of our playoff contenders as well, and not having the day that he was hoped for out on the racetrack, but this at least puts him back on the lead lap, so if anybody else has any problems, maybe can steal away a few more points.
Yeah, we'll have to see, as that's the name of the game right now in these playoff races, Joey. We mentioned a few times here on tonight's broadcast, we head to Charlotte next week. A track that I'd have to say, Joey, everybody's familiar with, whether it's here in iRacing or any kind of other NASCAR racing game. You've headed to Charlotte one time or another. You know how to take on that track. So very interesting to see if some of these bubble drivers, so to say, can make the most of a track that everybody's familiar with.
Yeah, and I think looking forward to Charlotte, you know, a win advances you to the next round, and there's going to be a lot of people that want to win at Charlotte, but the car that I'm looking at right now, because it's just reminding me of a win and you're in, is Christopher Fathke, our leader, Will, because Christopher started way back there in the 17th position. Mind you, we only got 18 trucks that are racing, so he has gone up through this entire field. And we mentioned how crazy that last restart was. Well, Christopher Fathke on those old tires was able to hold off everybody on that restart.
Yeah, and for Christopher Fathke, I'd have to say, Joey, this season has just been inching and inching and inching his way, you know, throughout those results towards this top of the grid. Now finds himself exactly where he's been working towards this season. At a win at a track like this at Pocono, not an easy track, Joey, we can all admit that. And to lock yourself into the next round, that's the best time to go ahead and get your first win of the season when it matters the most.
Absolutely, and we'll just have to keep an eye on that 08. Now, I think that the 08 had a little bit of a better restart advantage last time because he was lined up in that outside lane, and I think that outside lane, no matter whether you're going into 1, 2, or 3 here at Pocono, can really carry the momentum as long as you don't get slid up into from underneath, or as long as you don't get a slide job that kind of parks right in front of you that steals your momentum. So right now, I've actually got my eye on the number 2 truck and the number 79 of Barrett Polhemus, because this might be the opportunity that Barrett needs.
It could be the opportunity, but keep in mind that 79's had a rough go here these last few laps. He's getting beat and banged around. Now has worked himself back into contention, which I think you're forgetting one driver, Joey. Hayes Booth in that 5 has been very fast all night long here. A little bit outside of that leader picture in about the 5th or 6th position, but can be a truck that can compete at the end here as we're coming around this last corner under caution.
Base truck lights are out. We're going to be going to lap 50 of 60 here on this restart, and you're right. Keep an eye on that number 5 truck. He's going to be very fast on this restart, but it's all in the hands of Christopher Fathke on when he decides to go, and the green flag is out. A little bit of an accordion effect further back in the field, but Fathke with a really good jump. Swain and Hayes not really able to do anything. I see the 5 truck now poking his nose out to the inside, but it's Barrett Polhemus pushing the number 2 truck of Connor Berry side by side now with the 08. And here comes the 5 down the inside, but ultimately it's Connor Berry with the momentum on the outside being pushed by the 79.
And we jump up to the lead right now. Barrett Polhemus is not going to go to the inside as we almost had contact between the leaders there. That would have taken out almost the entire field as we're side by side for the race leaders. Contact between the leaders of Connor Berry, Barrett Polhemus in the 79. Oh my goodness, Joey, I cannot keep up with the action here at Pocono as Connor Berry is our race leader momentarily.
Yeah, a little bit of action further back. Couple trucks turned around, but this is the drive off of 4 that. Look at Sean Williams on that outside lane in that purple 89. He's going to have the drafting help from Keaton Swain in the 21. And oh my, Taylor Swift just grabbed the mic.
Excuse me, I know Taylor Swift is the best, but Sean Williams here tonight deserves this race victory the way he's been racing right now. The 89 machine leads the way as we're down to single digits here in Pocono.
Christopher Fathke still hanging on back there to the 5th place position, battling it out with Matthew Hofford. And oh, Sean Williams slides a little bit wide in turn 2. This is going to be the opportunity for Keaton Swain to go down the inside here of turn 3, but watch that black and red truck of Barrett Polhemus. He's going to have the best opportunity. Who does he decide to push going down the front straightaway?
Connor Berry down pit road. That's the 2 truck heading down pit road right now with 9 laps to go. Jump back up to the top of the grid right now. Barrett Polhemus is now side by side with Keaton Swain. Sean Williams is under fire as well from Keaton Swain. He's now door to door. New race leader Keaton Swain, the 21, as our Barrett Polhemus is going to try to the inside of the 89.
Yeah, Barrett Polhemus now going to try to take away that 2nd spot from the 89, but Sean chooses to push Keaton wisely and actually fends him off from the charge coming back behind of Barrett. And there's the number 5 truck slowly but surely joining the party back there. Hayes Booth. I see him now on the back of the 79 truck. And Will, you're right. I saw the number 2. That was Connor Berry come down pit road. I'm not sure about that pit stop strategy call. Now, I know all these trucks should be able to make it on fuel. Not exactly sure why that 2 pitted in there. I saw it on the chat there that he called it out pitting in. I wonder what happened with him.
Yeah, it's interesting right there for that 2 machine. I just saw the 89. Sean Williams also scraped that topside wall. You see this frantic drive happening up here at the top of the grid. Now starting to calm down just a little bit here, Joey. I think these drivers are starting to realize they have a little bit of time. No need to damage those trucks as we start to see a few more trucks down pit road there. I think some of these windows might be shutting for these drivers as we're counting them down here. Next time across this line, 7 laps to go. Keaton Swain's in the wall.
Yeah, huge change up front. Swain into the wall off of turn 2, and you saw Sean Williams and Barrett Polhemus have to take avoiding action, but here comes the run from the 79 off of turn number 3. He's going to take it side by side with Sean Williams. for the race lead, headed down into turn one. I actually think Sean Williams had to lift off of the gas to avoid getting into the outside wall there that lap. And Hayes Booth patiently waiting in this number 5 truck. You see him all the way down there on the bottom side of the racetrack and has a little bit of a better run coming off of turn number 2. Oh, little bit of a nudge. Hear him talking on the radio. I don't think the 89, or I'm sorry, I don't think the 5 was expecting the 89 to lift right there and kind of give him the position.
No, right there, and you saw a little bit of a contact, but now the 89's right on the back bumper of the 5. Hayes Booth, Sean Williams in the 89 for a second. Barrett Behemoth, though, you talked about it, Joey. He was just minding his time as well. Finds himself in clean open air now with 6 laps to go.
60 car, Lance Marsh. Give a big shout out. Up 14 positions into the 4th place position right now. Did not see this one coming and is hanging on to the back of this lead pack. In fact, I shouldn't say hanging on to the back, but has caught the lead pack as they continue to duel it out. But right now, Barrett Behemoth leading the way, and he's trying to break that draft, trying to snake down the straightaway, try to break any advantage that the number 5 truck has behind him, saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to catch me, come do it in clean air. Oh, Behemoth just tagged the wall hard off of turn 2. This is going to spell bad news for the 79. Open the door for the number 5, Hayes Booth, in turn 3.
Oh my goodness, we saw it as Sean Williams in the 89 touches the wall. That gave Barrett Behemoth that window of opportunity. Barrett Behemoth touches the wall. Now Hayes Booth takes that window of opportunity. Oh my goodness, with 5 laps to go, it is a 3-truck duel here in the eStockCar World Series. You win. You advance to the next round of the playoffs. If you lose, you finish second, and you have to worry about Charlotte next week as we're down the slanted straight with 5 laps to go. We have a battle brewing at the top.
Well, and it's all about Sean Williams versus Hayes Booth. Right now, you mentioned it, 5 laps to go. Looks like Barrett Behemoth has actually gathered it back up and is staying in touch, but I took a look. He does have damage on the 79 truck, and I don't think he's going to be a factor for the lead unless these 2 trucks in front of him get into something nasty on the racetrack. But 89 versus 5. Who is it going to be? 4 laps remaining, heading down into turn 1. One more time, Hayes Booth has really been the truck to beat tonight, but Sean Williams has had a handle on his race car underneath him.
Yeah, Sean Williams there for the first quarter of tonight's race was a top 5 truck. And then all of a sudden, he found the speed in that machine. Those tires starting to heat up on him. Those pit strategies started to pay off as well. He found the juice underneath the hood of the 89. Now finds himself in contention with what Joey just mentioned as a truck who has just been one of the fastest all night long. Hayes Booth, we haven't seen him drift out of the top 5 at all here tonight. Looking for that victory to lock himself into the next round. Sean Williams wants an upset here tonight, wants to put that T-Swizzle machine in victory lane. And with 3 laps to go, throw those 3s up. Rest in peace to Dale Earnhardt. We'll find out who wins the first race of the eStockCar World Series here as Hayes Booth takes us out in the corner.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see how Sean Williams approaches this situation. And Will, I'm actually looking back here through the results. Now, I know that Hayes Booth has not been a race winner, and looks like Sean Williams also not a race winner. So if one of these 2 trucks claims this checkered flag, it will be a 9th different winner in 11 races in this eStockCar World Series. Talk about a depth of talent pool.
Absolutely, and I think when I kicked off the first broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment, Joey, you started to rattle off some names, you started to rattle off some accolades, and to be honest with you, I didn't know who these guys were, but boy, I have figured out who they are now here throughout this season, Joey. To have that many different winners throughout this season, it just goes to the testament of the field of competition week in and week out. Whether you have 16, 26, or 36 drivers in every field, Joey, to have that many different winners is absolutely amazing.
Yes, and I'm looking. Barrett Polimas actually fell down. Oh no, problems right in front of our leader. That was a lapped truck coming off of the racetrack, and see exactly who this is.
Battle for the lead, battle for the lead.
Battle for the lead, you're right. This is Sean Williams taking a look down the inside of turn number 3, coming to the white flag. This isn't going to be the run that he wants coming off of the straightaway, Will, but he's got to do something to try to get up alongside this number 5 truck as Barney the flagman holds that white flag out in the air one more time around at Pocono.
Williams right now on the back bumper of Hayes Booth down into the corner. Williams keeps inching left side right now. The spotter is on the radio for Hayes Booth, letting him know the 89 is right there. Hold your line down the slanted straight. Joey will have a first time winner as we're down into the last of the corners.
Does Sean Williams have something for the 5 truck? He's saving it for turn number 3, wide on the entry through turn 2. It actually pushes up on exit. He's pretty far away from Hayes Booth. All the 5 truck has to do is hit his marks here in turn number 3. Don't overdrive that truck. Don't scoot it up on the exit too much. And he sees that checkered flag from Barney the flagman. I don't think the 89 has got in it. Hayes Booth takes the win at Pocono.
Wow, what an incredible performance from Hayes Booth in the 5. As mentioned, we never saw that Ford drop out of the top 5 at all here tonight. We kept calling out Hayes Booth, and he makes his fans happy. It's Hayes Booth in victory lane in that 5 machine, racking up his first victory of the season in the first race of the eStockCar World Series playoffs. Now is the first driver into the next round. Congratulations to Hayes Booth.
Well, I think you hit the key point right there. The first driver locked in to the next round of the playoffs as you saw him do a big drift into turn number 3 here with these trucks and get the official results from the eStockCar World Series race of Pocono. Hayes Booth, your winner. Barrett Polimas going up and giving him some love right now. Sean Williams coming home in second place. Lance Marsh third. Barrett Polimas fourth. Sean Winkler fifth. Paul Mikulajic coming home sixth. Keaton Swain, who led so much of this race, seventh. Matthew Hofert eighth. Timothy Cook ninth. And AJ Marsh in the top 10.
Yeah, picking up in the 11th position is Christopher Fathke right there. A little bit of a disappointing finish for that driver. Connor Berry is going to finish 12th. Also a disappointing run out of that 2 machine. Troy Neeson in that 19 will finish 13th. Nate Ramsey in that 4 will finish 14th. Jordan Neeson in that 8 will finish 15th. 16 will be Tyler Green in that 69. Eric Whitner in that 75 will finish 17th. Matthew Jarrett, we talked about him being that last truck into these playoffs. Not going to start off very well. Going to finish 18th here tonight.
And some trouble out there for some trucks, some celebrations for others as Hayes Booth continues to burn it down out there on the racetrack along with Barrett Polimas, celebrating what was a very, very good race here at Pocono. And actually looks like we've already got our race winner, Hayes Booth, going to be joining us here in the commentary booth. Let's get Hayes up in here. Hayes, congratulations on the race win and advancing into the next round of the playoffs.
Thank you, man. Feels really good.
Now, talk us through that race because in my opinion, you were the truck to beat all night. You were able to hang on the top side of the racetrack, fend everybody off, but you had to make your way back to the front when we had that yellow flag, didn't you?
Yeah, I definitely did. I'm not gonna lie. I was I was kind of annoyed when that caution came out because if my calculations were correct and if I ran it right, I think I would have barely been able to make it on fuel to the end and won. But so I was a little bit frustrated when that caution came out, but I was also happy for my teammate Barrett because he definitely benefited from that caution. So uh, yeah, it was kind of a mix of emotions there, but I knew we were still in it. I knew we still had a chance, and I knew we still had speed. So feels really good to bring it home after all that.
Well, and you had a few challengers, but ultimately ended up being the 89 of Sean Williams who was hounding you for that race win. And were you worried about that 89 shoving it down the inside anywhere? Did you feel like you had the speed from what you learned on the top of the racetrack earlier?
Yeah, I definitely did. It got a little sketchy. I think it was with coming to the white flag, yeah, when the lap car ahead of us blew his motor. I wasn't quite sure where he was going entering two, and I kind of missed my line a little bit, and that caused Sean to get to my inside. I was like, dude, there's no way I'm about to lose this race because of that. So I tried to kind of pinch him there, and we were able to gain the momentum. But I knew out of turn two, I kind of missed my mark in turn two as well, or turn one, I'm sorry. And then I knew exiting turn two when I saw the gap that I had, I knew that he wasn't going to be able to really pull off a good dive bomb. So I knew we were in a pretty good spot there. So, but yeah, he definitely definitely gave me a run for my money there at the end.
Well, now, Hayes, I had been looking through the point standings, and we cover you so much because you're always one of the front runners here, but I noticed you hadn't had a win all season, and now that this win locks you into the next round, is this kind of the floodgates opening? Are we going to see you on the top step the rest of the time?
I hope so. That'd be pretty cool if we can keep this speed going throughout the playoffs. And yeah, definitely. I knew we've had speed throughout the season and just haven't quite been able to capitalize on it completely in some races. But to open off the playoffs with the win and to know that we're locked into the next round, it feels pretty good. So there's some tracks that I know I'm good at coming up in the playoffs. So I feel confident about the rest of the playoffs.
Well, and before I let you go, anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to thank my parents for supporting me in sim racing, and uh, my grandmother and all my friends for supporting me. Everybody at Spino Racing and my whole team for bringing me on this year, and everybody at iRacing, everybody at eStockCar for putting this lead together. All you guys, and I also want to give a shout out to my mom because she sent me a Bible verse just before the race that essentially talks about how nothing is impossible when you have God with you, and that's something that I truly believe. So I wanted to point that out. Thank you, Mom, for sending that to me. That definitely was one of the things that, or the main thing that kind of helped me through this race. So, um, yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, Hayes Booth, your race winner here at Pocono for the eStock Car World Series advances him into the second round of the playoffs. And looks like we're going to actually have Sean Williams now joining us, standing by with Will Tiller.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sean Williams, the 89 machine. It's the first chance we're getting to speak with the 89 machine and Sean Williams. And Sean, before we get to the race here, you're going to start rattling off some more T-Swizzle songs if you're going to be racing like that. We need to start knowing some more references to call your name out some more.
I'm glad you like the truck. I've been watching some of the races.
Well, Sean, you come home second here tonight. You were battling in that mix outside from the drop of the green flag. You never really faltered. You had a bit of a stretch, I'd say, the first 15, 20 laps where you had to get up there, but once you did, you just glued yourself to the top of the grid. Take us through your race here tonight.
I was pretty worried at the start. I didn't really have the speed in practice, but I'm not good at hot lapping anyway. But once that run started, I kind of got a good feel for that, for the truck and for the run. And I don't know. It just was coming my way. It was nice. I was probably in trouble at the very end if we went green all the way because of fuel. I was trying to save, but yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Let's break down how the battle between you and Hayes Booth, that five machine. Do you feel like that if you could just start throwing some more blocks, that you could get it, or what really was the reason why it's not the 89 in Victor Lane in the five?
I don't know. That's the thing you always replay after the race, right? Like, what could you do different? And there was probably a few things I was waiting or trying to wait for the last lap because I figured I didn't want to be leading on the last lap. That's usually not good here. And I wanted to do a setup there for the tunnel turn, and I screwed up my entry, and I couldn't get back to him. But Hayes did a heck of a job. Hayes was fast, good, clean racing with him, and congrats to him on the victory too, because that was awesome.
Yeah, so without winning tonight's race, you don't lock yourself into the next round of the playoffs. So we head to Charlotte next week. Sean, with the second place here tonight, we talked about it in the broadcast booth, actually during the broadcast between you and Hayes Booth. Neither one of you had seen Victory Lane here in the eStockCar World Series. I know you finished second here tonight. Do you think this sort of lights a fire underneath that the T Swizzle machine of the '89, and maybe we'll see that machine in Victory Lane at Charlotte next week?
That'd be nice. I hope so. Next week will be a home track. Maybe that'll give me some luck as well. But I've been having a lot better finishes overall in this league than I was expecting because I haven't driven this truck in a very long time. And I don't know. I guess it just didn't take me as long to get back up to speed. Luckily, it's not too hard to drive and all that. But still, when you're out of a car for a long time, it can be tough. But had some good races, and yeah, I'm trying to get that victory lane next week.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you at Charlotte, and we can't wait to see you. And Sean, you better have some T Swizzle songs ready for us so that we have some references to throw out. And if you keep racing like you have been doing the last couple weeks. But with the podium finish here tonight, we'd love to give you the floor to shout out anybody that you had watching here tonight or any sponsors that made this race possible for you.
Well, thank Connor, of course, for putting on the league. Let me race with everyone. It's a good group of guys. I haven't raced with a lot of them before, so it's nice to find new leagues, new people, and just kind of get into it and see what you can do. Thanks y'all for broadcasting. I do love watching the races back. And yeah, for everybody who's showing up, everyone who's watching my stream, and I guess I got to thank T Swizzle, right?
You gotta thank T Swizzle out there, the queen of pop, the queen of country music. You put her in her own category, Mr. Sean Williams. Second here tonight at Pocono. We appreciate it, my man.
Yeah, thank you. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Well, that's going to do it tonight. Hayes Booth coming home with that win, advancing himself into that next round of playoffs. So really next week doesn't matter for that number 5 truck. But we want to thank tonight's admin team as well as our broadcast partners here at Maconi Entertainment. Calling the action tonight was myself, Joey Atterbury, alongside Will Tiller in the booth and Adam Flieger working the controls as our producer. Thanks to all of our viewers for tuning in to tonight's racing action. We hope to see you right here March 21st for the next race of the eStockCar World Series at Charlotte. Stay tuned to the Maconi Entertainment social media pages for all of our upcoming broadcasts so you don't miss a thing. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we will see you next time.